have conformity between each level. For example, okay, c'est bien, j'ai fini de parler de l'ajustement, ça. So, how do he talk about the strata? Strata is like the levels. When I am in front of something from James Lev, I can have it with many strata, okay? Many levels. Okay? And that's very important. So I'm looking for, and here, what these things that what strata talk us about, they talk us about what James Lev called la multiplicité des substances. For him, in la stratification du langage, to catch the individuality or to catch the reality of a thing, I need to think about the thing through the substance. We have a form, and the form, the singularity of the form is through substance. So I need to go there. So we talk about la multiplicité des substances. Okay? For example, what's important for example, he said that, c'est une citation, c'est bien connu, c'est un fait bien connu par exemple, qu'une seule et même forme de l'expression peut être manifestée par des substances diverses, substances phoniques, graphiques, signaux par pavillon, etc., etc. So it's very important for him to define the form, so that is to say, to talk about language as a form, to talk about language as a methodology, I have to understand myself that I have many interpretations, so that I have many substances. Okay, but what's important here? James Lev has a distinction between what's called la substance ontologique, so versus la substance linguistique. What's important and what gives the meaning, the main meaning or the singularity of the object is what is called la substance linguistique as a conception. So we turn around every time. But what I would like to show is that we have this methodology in linguistics, but semiotics didn't really use these things because of this kind of, I call it, they are only phenomenologic or many times anthropologic to compare and so on and so on. But that's important. La substance linguistique is very important for him. Okay? And la substance linguistique help us to understand what we call la multiplicité des substances. One thing can be taught or can be told by many substances. Okay. And we have I will draw you so I need to move my computer. This is what's the proposition of Jensen. For example, what we call a substance phonique, we can catch sound, okay, through many levels. For example, we talk about what's called firstly, we can have a sound. We can describe the sound with what's called la substance. We can have a physiological description. Physiological. Like when we are in phonetics, this kind of things. Okay, you can describe it with this. Okay, it's a physiological or how we articulate, or what we call articulatoire, or myosynetic, how we pronounce word. Okay, and you can have also the physical description. Not if when we are in semiotics, you can describe the sound with how well we put how we use our mouth. You can describe it as kind of very physical things, which you can put some measure, to talk about the frequency or something like that. Okay, it's also a substance. Okay, And you can have also a third description, en sciences physiques, il faut ajouter une description auditive. Okay? The level of la puissance, alors, perceptibility à perception. The way the sound comes through can have any kind of description. So we have these. If I talk about something like this, it's not like this, but it's the same sound. So we have the level. So for it, it's kind of strata. What's important is not the way quantitative are. It's a structure. This is a structure of sound, but you can build any time independence of any level. And you can talk about this. If I am a physician, or if I have a kind of philosophic, or I don't know what, have this kind of. So that I'll put this level, this concept, for me, is like the same. La stratification et le niveau de pertinence is like the same. Is to talk about the meaning as something not really defined in interdependency as dependency, but is on its independence. And that's very important for what I would like to say after that. So, for themselves, it's kind of a typology. You can build a typology of the way to perceive the meaning by talking about what the strata is. But what you can see here is that you can multiplier. On peut multiplier les substances, les niveaux. Oh, j'ai oublié de multiplier en anglais.
Multiply.
Huh? Multiply, yes. You can multiply these levels. That's what I would like to say is Hjelmslev is aware of this phenomenon. But he didn't really talk about this in, for example, in the Pré-Legomène, which is the main book of this really simulation. You don't have it in Pré-Legomène. You have it in many texts as height. I don't know why. But how that certification is very, very important. Okay? How many levels that you can use. Okay, that's it. What I would like to say through the way I perceive, I define semiotics when I talk about development. Okay? For this kind of paradox or independence or empirical or something like something more, for example. Okay? So I can talk to you about another example. For example, to well understand that, I analyzed many years ago a literature, a phenomenon in literature, what that we call la novelisation. La novelisation is how to write, film, or novel. Because our adaptation is how to transform a novel to a film, but la novelisation is how to put in cinema something that exists. For example, how to put in novel a film, for example. Okay? And I analyze a novelization of a film called The Encounter of Third Type. You know this film, okay, from Steven Spielberg. Rencontre du troisième type. No, you are very young, you don't know.
No.
That's it, no. You are young. But you can read it. The Rencontre du troisième type is an old film. Okay? It's a film from how the kind of bizarre things. You know? When the ET comes to us, you know, that's Steven Spielberg, you know. So this book has been written. No, this film has been done. People seen in the cinema, but la novelisation is a kind of marketing tool. You know? When a film is very start to build to sell T-shirts, Spencer, and sometimes they ask to kind of writers, professional writers, to write quickly a novel. That's a novelization. Right? It's not really literature. I start to talk about that. But I start to see what's the relationship between the film, the scenario, okay, put in film, and the novelization. When we talk about the main structure as a relationship here, we have the same thing. But so you have something in the structure as something very programmatic. Okay? But I think you have this kind of experience. When you start to read, when you have a friend who you like a lot, and you try to buy the book who has been written from this firm, sometimes you are disappointed or are not really, don't really have the same emotion you have from the firm. And I would like to understand what's the problem. We have the same story. Okay, but here the story is written. But what's the problem here? Okay, for example, that's what I start to understand. The problem is not about from the structure. The problem is, as a writer, what did I talk about? I talk about a film, I don't talk about the story. So a film for the writer is not a story. The film for a writer is a performance. The way the film has been written. They try to catch, but in their own way, the way they live the film. And you have this kind of event, you have to look only the way they write and the way they translate the scene of the event from the film. And what's very not amazing but curious, that for example in the film you can have a scene who took, let's say, a second, but when you start to write, it's like this scene took about a year, so it's very long. And have the inverse too. So we have this kind of plastical things. So what I call here independency. As a writer, I'm able to talk about this scene as I live it. I can live something very intensively or not. So I don't know if I can describe you this film. For this film, how do you have it? Kind of you have the personnel principal, the main actor, named Ron Neary. He's kind of he lives in his home and he starts to be disturbed by many things, different, I don't know. And he tries to understand, and he lives it as a kind of very emotional thing. And you have another actor whose name is Gillian, it's a girl, it's a woman, and he lives the same thing. So the problem is at the end of the film, when the ET comes, in the film it's very intensive. But in the novel, it's like something very normal. And you have another event. Sometimes when Roy Neary decides, because these events happen in a mountain, and Roy Neary decides to go to this mountain. In the film, it's very cool, no? Come, you ride to rent a car, it's not a car. To rent a car to go there, okay, it's great. But when you have this model, it's kind of, so in the film, it's very slowly, but in the novel, it's like so now the problem is the relation, not the story. The problem is the relationship between the structure and the particular way this thing are telling you. You have the same structure from the film and for the film or for the novel. But you see that the structure is not the same. But if we talk about programmatic things, it's the same program, like we talk about here the Scopus 2. One step, one thing, two things, But after that, you see that you count. One is you start to talk about the story, you can make it, you squint, have to squint it. If you would like to analyze the fund with the structure, you are right. But when you like to analyze the novel about the structure, you are right too. But the difference is how linguistically, how by the resources of the language they talk about. So what I will just call, when I talk about abstraction, is another problem is that when we talk about the fund, we see that what is mobilized, the strata, what is mobilized, sometimes it can be the emotion to talk about something, and for the thing is not something very rational. So we have this kind of games between every level. And sometimes too, we take the proposition of Fontanier, sometimes you have the syntax who is mobilized, so what is called la scène pratique, and sometimes is the object that are used. So you have kind of desynchronization every time to talk about the structure. And when you move from one level to another, you desynchronize the structure. Every time you change, and that's very important when you do semiotics, that the difference is here when you start to move, when you start to move the generative